the Shakti, the energy of the divine feminine. Shiva is merely Shava. So that is the beauty of the Mahaganapati mantra. It is that you can control your mind, which means it can be bent, that even if someone crushes us, even if someone hurts us, even if someone damages us, we should still be able to give out the sweetness.
Karupurgauram Karunavataram Sansarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayarvinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. Welcome back to the Srimatre Namaha podcast. Thank you for
Thank you,
being here.
Sanjeevaji.
If you are new to this series, I recommend watch part 1 first. In today's episode, before we move to the next stage, can you explain where Srividya comes from and why it is considered such a powerful path?
It has its antecedents in the Vedas as well. The Sri Suktam, for example, is considered to be one of the aspects, one of the mantras from which came the Sri Vidya sadhana itself. Now, Sri Vidya, like I said in my previous episode, is about Ma Lalita Tripura Sundari. So, in order to understand that, you have to know about the Dasha Mahavidyas, which have 10 goddesses, which are all wisdom goddesses, the third of which is Ma Lalita Tripura Sundari. Where it is found specifically, we can see in Lalitopakyana, in the Rudrayamala Tantra, Tantra Raja Tantra, many of the Tantra texts talk about Sri Vidya as a sadhana and what it brings for the sadhaka. Now, historically, it is easiest to understand that it is a part of a tantric method which keeps to the right hand side of samayachara, dakshinachara, and it is mostly the internal work that we do. Why is it so powerful? It is because we invoke the Shakti, the energy of the divine feminine. The truth is that all creation can only happen from the divine feminine. Shiva is merely Shava until he is energized by Shakti. That is the power of Sri Vidya. That she comes to Shiva, who is the universal consciousness, and gives him the energy to do what is known as the act of creation itself.
That really help us understand it better. Many people don't know Adi Sankaracharya was a great master of Srividya. Could you explain this?
He was a great Shakta sadhaka. The philosophy that Adi Shankara wanted to expound was that of Advaita Vedanta, the non duality of life itself. And he found that Shakta practices were the greatest affirmation of Advaita. And for this reason, he became a Ma Lalita Tripura Sundari sadhaka, and he was able to establish a lot of pithas where the Sri Yantra was set up and Ma began to be worshipped. So If you look at how Adi Shankara walked the length and breadth of India, and he set up the four Amneya Pithas in the north, in the south, east, and west, right? So in the north, it was in Jyotirmat, in the south, it was in Sringeri, in the east, it was in Puri, and in the west, it was in Dwarka. Now, in all these four places, Adi Shankara went and placed the Sri Yantra and said, these are now Pithas of Shakti. So Adi Shankara can be credited with the resurgence, the renaissance of Sri Vidya, particularly in South India. If you see the states of Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, Karnataka, where Sri Vidya is very popular, where the Lalita Sahasranama is chanted regularly every evening in every household. One important thing to note is that Adi Shankara was such a great admirer of Ma Lalita that he wrote Saundarya Lahiri, just describing her beauty, which is also a very important text of Sri Vidya.
Fascinating. Why Lalita Tripura Sundari Devi hold a sugar cane bow? And what does it mean?
The sugar cane is sweet, it stands for the mind. So the mind essentially is not corrupted. There is a sweetness to it, and it can be bent very easily. That's why you can see that sometimes it's the bent sugarcane bow. So, what they are trying to tell us through the iconography is that you can control your mind, which means it can be bent, it is flexible, and it can always remain sweet. It does not need to be hardened by the experiences you have in life. And also, what happens when you crush sugarcane? It still gives out sweetness. So that should be our nature, that even if someone crushes us, even if someone hurts us, even if someone damages us, we should still be able to give out the sweetness, just like a sugarcane gives out when it is crushed. This is the actual meaning of the iconography of the sugarcane.
That's very beautiful. When is the best time and day to chant these mantras for a better spiritual journey?
See, every day is the same in terms of the spiritual journey. Every day has its own value. But in Sri Vidya, because we are closely associated with the different nityas of the moon, starting from Amavasya going into Purnima, which is the Shukla Paksha, and then the movement backward from the full moon to the new moon, which is the Krishna Paksha. Now, we consider Fridays to be very auspicious in the worship of Ma, also full moon days, also Ashtami, Navami, and for some goddesses, even Panchami. So these are some days which are very important. Also, the days which are important for your life, like your birthday, your anniversary, your children's birthday, your spouse's birthday, these are also days on which you have to do more of the mantra japa.
That's very helpful for those who want to start their journey. If a practitioner has completed the required count of the Bala mantra, what is the next step on this journey?
Usually, it is said that once you complete the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra mandala, you are ready to get initiated into the Mahaganapati mantra. So the Bala Tripura Sundari mantra was only three bijas. Now we go into the Mahaganapati mantra, which is 28 bijas. It becomes a slightly longer mantra. And also, where Aim Klim Sau was about inculcating a certain discipline, Mahaganapati mantra becomes about seeking blessings for everything around us. Sarva janamme vashamanaya swaha, which means that not just the living beings, because in Sanatana we believe that everything, even a stone, even the grass, even the plants, they have some element of consciousness. So we are praying for everything around us. So that is the beauty of the Mahaganapati mantra, which is the second step, because he is the Vignaharta. He will remove the obstacles which will come as we proceed in our practice towards the higher mantras.
Some practitioners may be curious, what is the significance of chanting Mahaganapati mantra in the Srividya path?
Primarily, there are five energies that we worship in Sri Vidya. A given is Shiva, because without Shiva, Shakti cannot exist. Then Ma Lalita, who is Adi Parashakti. Then we have Ma Varahi. Then we have Ma Shamala, and we have Mahaganapati. So these are the five energies that we worship. And we have to complete a sadhana of all these in order to be called as a true Sri Vidya sadhaka. And Mahaganapati is to understand that if you look at the Lalitopakhyana, the war of Bhandasura versus Ma Lalita, Kameshwara Mukhaloka Kalpita Shri Ganeshwara. She just looks at Shiva and Mahaganapati comes into form. Now, there are 32 different forms of Ganapati, and Mahaganapati is the 13th form that we worship in Sri Vidya. So, he was very instrumental in helping Ma Lalita win the war against Pandasura. That is why he is important in the Sri Vidya path.
That makes sense. I have heard you say that Kundalini energy is important in the Srividya path. What exactly is Kundalini energy and can it be experienced on this path?
Kundalini, to explain it very simply, is the awakening of your own consciousness. Usually, we talk about how it lies dormant at the Mooladhara chakra, and how, with work, whether it be mantra sadhana or with yantra or mudra, it moves upward till it comes to the Agnya chakra. Now, how it is experienced is different for different individuals. Again, different paddhatis explain it in different ways, but by and large, a feeling of overall balance in your energy systems, of not having any kind of disease, discomfort, of letting go of many traumas that we are holding, of not having any blockages, is a clear indication that your Kundalini Shakti is arising. And also of letting go of the more Rajasic and Tamasic qualities and allowing the Sattvic nature of our being to surface. That is when you know that Kundalini is surfacing, that this consciousness is evolving towards a higher purpose and a higher meaning.
That's very powerful. In today's society, there are many places offering short term Kundalini activation. What advice would you give to people about this?
First of all, there are no shortcuts on the spiritual path. Whatever we start may reach fruition in this lifetime after several years or in another lifetime. We are not doing it anticipating results. If someone is saying that your Kundalini will get activated in 7 days or 14 days, that in itself is a red flag which should tell you that there is no such thing really. It is just the Western concept of saying that they have awakened an energy. In Sanatana, we have never seen that as a concept. It can only be done in three ways to awaken the real Kundalini. Is one is when you get the Diksha from your Guru by way of Shaktipata. Second is you have, and it's like natural, automatic. It is something which awakens in you because of your previous good karmas. Or third is that you do so much sadhana, you do so much practice that you're able to awaken your consciousness. But anything else, there is no way that Kundalini can get awakened. It might be some temporary sensation that you feel, but that's about it. There is nothing more to it than that.
That's something many people need to hear. What are some common misunderstandings about Sri Vidya, and how would you guide people in the right direction?
One of the most common fears that I have heard is that it makes women become too powerful, too strong. So the men advise them against doing it. And it is, they give the example of Jayalalitha because she was a Sri Vidya sadhaka, and see how she controlled all the men in her life. So they say if your wife becomes a Sri Vidya sadhaka, she will become like a Jayalalitha. So don't allow them to do that. That is completely wrong, because what Sri Vidya does is it strengthens a woman from within to be the individual that she needs to be. She will not become masculine, she will not take on anything else. Now, another misconception is that men who take on Sri Vidya will become very feminine. So men are advised against taking up Sri Vidya because they are told that then you will start enjoying cooking and you will start liking all the things that women do. So don't get on this practice. These are the two most common notions that I have seen in my own practice and in guiding so many people. But both are completely not necessary, and it's completely out of misinformation and misrepresentation.
Before we close, could you share any special experience you had while chanting the Mahaganapati mantra in your Sri Vidya journey?
Sanjeeva ji, for me, I do not look at the experiences to validate my journey. There are many serendipities, synchronicities which happen, which I take as a blessing, but I do not crave for them. I do not label them as experiences, because in the spiritual path, it's very important to just do the sadhana without having any kind of expectation. But having said that, it is true that let me not speak for myself, let me speak for some of the sadhakas that I guide, that they have found many obstacles falling away. They have found sudden promotions, out of turn promotions, purchasing properties which they never hoped to do. I'm not promising magic or miracles, but these shifts do happen for people.
That makes sense. I think today we have covered some really important points for those who are already on the Sri Vidya path. So I will bring the second part of our series to close here. We will meet again soon for part 3 with Vinitaji. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and blessing with us.